welcome to another episode of Things You Don't Want to Know, but I Tell You Anyways. I actually had to bring this out because I still don't remember the name of this segment, and we've done it 6 or 7 times now. I have no idea. It is one of my favorite segments though, because it gives me an opportunity to reflect back on some of the comments that you guys have left throughout the week, and I get to comment on them, and it's just fun just to sit down, comment on comment video. It's great. So before we start, I have some exciting news. I'm kind of like optimistically cautious because I just know how YouTube works, but yesterday I hit 500 subscribers, which is crazy to think about, especially because when I started this on January 1st of this year, I had less than 100. So it's really cool to me to think that, I don't know, like I don't know, it's just really cool, and just it was such an amazing journey, and like I feel like 500 is one of those marks that should be celebrated, especially because the next big milestone would be 1,000, because 1,000 is when YouTube opens up its gates and allows you access to all these things as a creator, like the ability to go live on YouTube through your phone, opening up that community tab, and obviously the big thing, which is I'm not really like, I don't know, like I'm not gonna lie, like I do care about it, but it's not like the biggest deal, which is the monetization. Like you can monetize your channel and stuff like that. But I don't know, it's so cool that I've hit 500. Especially like I just keep thinking back to when I started, and like I had 100 people, less than 100 people subscribe to me, and even less people watch me. I think anytime I put out a video in the beginning, I had maybe like 1 or 2 people that viewed my video, and that was probably YouTube bots making sure that I wasn't going against YouTube terms of service agreements. But now, like anytime I drop a video, I usually have like, you know, over 100 people that watch my videos, and it's crazy. I mean, it's insane to think about, and I'm so grateful, and thank you so much. It just puts a smile on my face. And the reason I say I'm optimistically cautious is because I know with YouTube, you know, you hit certain numbers and then you dip below again. So by the time this video goes up, I might be below 500. But right now, at this point in time, I'm at like 503 or something like that. So thank you to everyone who's been a part of my journey. It really means a lot to me. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and just continue on with what we do here on the Monday segment of Things You Don't Want to Know, but I'm going to tell you anyways. I'm going to go through comments today, 5 of them to be exact, and we're just going to comment on them, and yeah, let's get started. So the first comment is going to be from Jerry. This is off of the video, My Husband Questioning Our Relationship. In that video, my husband and I were discussing root beer versus Dr. Pepper. I prefer Dr. Pepper, he prefers root beer, and so this is Jerry kind of replying to that. And then he said, I stole an A&W mug there in Okinawa. It was up on a hill and real close to a car hotel. A car hotel is where you drive your car into a garage that was attached to your room for the purpose of having sex. I believe the building was round. Is it still there? I don't know if that specific building is still there, but what he's talking about is what I wanted to like mention. So in Japan, I guess in his time they were called car hotels, because it at the time it was like a hotel thing that you drive your car in and it was attached to your room, and they still have those, except they're not known as car hotels, they're known as love motels, because the purpose is, as the name states, where you go to make love. So in Japanese society, the house that most people live in is multi-generational. Typically in a Japanese household, you got your grandma, you got your uncles, you got, you know, your mom and dad, you got your cousins potentially. A lot of the family lives under one roof. Like even in my family's case, like I got my grandpa, I got my uncle, I got my aunt, I got my mom. At other times I had my other uncle living here, and then I had my cousin living here, and then you know, like, so many people live under one roof. It's a very multi-generational household, and so privacy is really, really hard to come by. It's definitely not one of those situations where you're like, you know, you meet a girl at a bar and you're like, hey, you want to come back to my place for some, you know, because when you come back to your place, you got like an entire family there, just like just there. It's it's really hard to find privacy. So the purpose of a love motel is for that purpose, you know, it's like to have a place where you could go and spend time privately with your lover or whatever. I know a lot of affairs take place at love motels as well. I know a lot of military members like to use it just as like a date night spot. Like, I don't know how many kids I babysat for military member families as they went off to love motels when I was a teenager. It's actually really cool. Like, I mean, Matt and I have been to a couple of them. I actually did a video and I lost the footage of me like giving a tour of a love motel, but it's kind of cool because like it's literally set up like a hotel. Some of them are themed, some of them are not. They usually have like drinks, like beers in a fridge. Sometimes they have karaoke machines. Sometimes they have like game machines. Like there's a couple that I went to that had like PlayStation 3s. It's been a while since I've been to a love motel, but they have like really big baths and all the soaps and stuff, and they have like all the amenities that a hotel would have. And then you just pay by the hour, or you pay by, you know, a specific time period, and yeah, you just hang out there for the time period, and everything is very, very private. That's the whole thing about love motels, is it's all about secrecy. So you will drive, you know, in fact, one of these days I'll have to go and like do a tour of it because it's actually really, really fascinating. How it works is usually you drive into one of the garages that they have set up for you, and oftentimes the garage either has like a little plastic sheet that you can use to cover your car, because like I said, everything is about secrecy. So if somebody happens to be driving by, like, they don't notice your car. And then basically from there, once you park your car, you either have like a door or a set of stairs that leads you to the room that is attached to the garage. So you do your business for whatever length of time you're there, and then when you go to check out, you hit a button and somebody comes to the door, and then they open a little slot, and then that's how you pay. And you don't see the person that you're paying the money to, and the person you're paying the money to doesn't see you. So you literally can walk in and walk out without ever running into anybody, because the point of a love motel is all about secrecy. It's a really, really fascinating thing. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of talk about that because I just think it's fascinating. That's what Jerry was talking about, was a love motel. Like I said, I don't know if that specific love motel that he's talking about is still around, but there are still a lot of them on the island. In fact, there's a little like neighborhood not too far from us called Love Motel Alley, where it's literally filled with just love motels, just as far as the eye can see. So Phoebe said, "Oh wow, some very cool stuff to learn about you. Those experiences really do sound transformational. I probably should regret dropping out of college a semester before graduating, but the decision legit saved my life, I think. So I am not letting society shame me for that." And this was left on a comment from a video that I think it came out yesterday, and it was called "Things I Should Probably Regret, But I Don't." And it was just me talking about things that I've done in my life that most I think would probably regret, but I don't. So it was really brave of you to leave that. And I can relate to that 100% on that comment, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about it, was because I also dropped out of college. I went to maybe like 2 semesters, and like within the 2 semesters, I felt like I got what I wanted out of it. Like, I think my 2nd semester in, I met the people that kind of helped me kickstart what ultimately ended up becoming my media business. And like once I realized what I wanted to do, college just wasn't, you know, I just felt like I didn't need to go to college anymore. So I dropped out. There's like 2 spectrums. I think there are people who shame people for going to college, calling it like a waste of time and a waste of money, and like, why would you put yourself into all this debt to, you know, get a piece of paper? And then there's the other side that's like, oh, you have to go to college to be somebody and like get a good job and blah 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 blah, and like all of this. I think there's like 2 sides to the spectrum, and both sides like really like to shame each other. I'm kind of somewhere in the neutral position. I think, you know, college is great for people with a specific purpose, and if none of that, you know, none of what college offers is what you want to do in your life, then you can totally become successful without going to college. I think people have this idea that there is only one path to success. It's like, you know, you get a good education, you go to a good college, then you get a good job, and then there's like that progressive life that you have to take. But for me, I think life has many roads and many directions, and I don't necessarily think that one path is like the only way. So don't let anybody shame you for not going to college. I didn't go to college. I barely went to school. I dropped out of school when I was in 3rd grade, and then I kind of went back in my middle school and freshman year, and then I dropped out again. And then I did end up like doing a correspondence online homeschooling course to get my high school diploma, but I didn't really grow up with an education. I don't know. I think there's a lot of paths to success. Depending on what you want to do with your life, college may or may not be the option for you. I think it's a good place to kind of dip your toe into society. You know, like if you don't know what you want to do, just kind of like go there to figure, maybe like take a couple classes and like kind of feel out the waters and see what you might want to do. But I don't think it's necessary that you have to complete college, at least in my opinion. I've met a lot of people who went to college who are successful, and I've also met a lot of people who went to college who aren't as successful and who are in mountains of debt. I also met a lot of people who didn't go to college and is really, really successful, and I've also met people who didn't go to college and aren't successful. So I don't think college is the deciding factor to success. I think it's what you decide to do with your life and what decision you decide to take yourself in life that ultimately will determine whether you're successful or not. So yeah, so if you felt like college wasn't for you, then it probably wasn't. So don't let anybody shame you for that, and don't regret it. I'm sure there's a lot of things you learned that a lot of people didn't learn from that experience. So all right, so Tim, I've noticed that people rarely say hi, thank you, or anything else really to shop assistants in Japan. It's more focused on sonkeigo towards the customer, or customers just say things like suika charge, no please, no thank you. You do. Is it because of American habits? You know, I really think so. I think it is. Because in Japan, as polite as they are in regular society, right? Like especially when you're like talking to your superiors, or you're talking to your you're talking to customers, or you're talking to people you don't know. There's definitely like that keigo, which is polite form language that we use to address people. When the tables are turned, when you're talking to people who aren't your superiors, or when you're talking to, for instance, shop workers or restaurant workers, it's not really a requirement to speak to them in like any kind of polite manner. In fact, I've actually noticed that when you go to restaurants, there's almost like an air of like, as I'm a customer and I am more superior than the shop owner type of vibe. And it's not a vibe that I really, really like, because to me, I feel like I don't care who you are or what you think you are or like where you feel like you stand in this food chain, but everybody should be treated with respect regardless of what position they hold. I've been in the restaurant industry. I know how hard it is. I honestly think the food service industry is one of the hardest industries to work in, so I know how stressful it can be. I've also worked in customer service, and to me, like as somebody who's worked in those environments, I feel like anytime somebody said their please and thank yous and just treated me like a human being, it meant so much. And you see it a lot in America, you know, and I think a lot of that is because Americans tend to be a lot more personable and a lot more, in that sense, nice. And so having spent 10 years in the States experiencing that kind of like customer service and experiencing that like customer and employee interaction in the States, like I know how much just being treated like a human being when you're in that industry can just completely change your day. So I tried to bring that here as well. You know, I do say thank you, I say please. It must be pretty noticeable that I do this, because Tim isn't the first person to point it out. I've had friends that I went to like restaurants with, and they're like, man, you're like really nice to like the servers and stuff. And to me, that's like an obvious thing. Like, of course, you know, they're bringing out my food. They're like, I'm going to say thank you. I'm going to say please. I'm going to treat them with respect. But in Japan, I think hierarchy is a very big deal. So like as a customer in Japan, you're definitely like, it's ingrained in your mind that customer is king, whether you're an employee or whether you're the customer. So customers, I think, tend to feel like they're like at an upper level, like more superior in that setting. And so it's not uncommon to see like, they won't go out of their way to be like mean or, you know, be an asshole, but there's definitely an air of superiority that a lot of customers will show. It bothers me. It really does. Because at the end, like I keep saying, like at the end of the day, it's not about like where people stand or what they're doing or like, you know, the hierarchy. To me, I treat people with respect regardless of what they're doing and who they are. I think a lot of that is probably because of my American habits. I think that is one of the reasons why I do tend to say thank you and please, and I do my best to treat people with respect. Yeah, because sometimes I'll even go to a store with my mom, and sometimes she'll like talk to employees and stuff, and it's almost embarrassing the way she'll talk to people. I'm like, lady, show some respect. I don't know how many times I get on her about that. These are the moments where I just actually don't care about cultural norms. Like I'm not gonna go out of my way to treat people like crap. Like that's stupid. I don't care if that's the cultural norm. I don't care about hierarchy. I'm gonna treat people the way they deserve to be treated, which is with respect. Sorry, it's a little bit of a sore subject for me. The next question is, Alan Jones asks, what kind of work are you and Matt doing? Matt and I are kitchen grunts. We work at a kitchen for a food service company. We're not necessarily servers, but we basically pack bentos is basically what we do. And we work nights. Yeah, we've been doing that for a while. We definitely enjoy it. I mean, for a job, it's hard, but we like the hours. We like the flexibility that it gives us to focus on like the videos and stuff during the day. So it's a good job. I'm really grateful for it. And this is actually another question from Tim. Do you have days with only sunshine in Okinawa, no cloud at all? It's actually really rare. I don't really know if I've ever seen an Okinawan sky that's completely blue with no clouds. I think that's actually kind of the charm with Okinawa. I know, like living in Sacramento, there were so many days where you would look up at the sky and there would be no clouds. And to me, that is such a weird feeling. But in Okinawa, there's usually always going to be a cloud. Like there are some days where there's there's only a little bit, but I don't think I've ever seen an Okinawan sky without any clouds whatsoever. And I think a lot of that is probably due to just the climate and the humidity. I think it's island and we're just surrounded by water. So I don't know any of the science behind it. Elementary school dropout here. So somebody's got to educate me in the comment sections of why that is. But I think probably has to do a lot with the climate and the humidity and just the air. We just easier to form clouds around us, I think. So yeah. All right, so those are the questions that I'm answering today. Thank you so much for tuning in. And again, thank you guys so much for the 500 subs. Like I said, that's so crazy. But I love you guys so much. Thank you. And I will see you in tomorrow's video. Peace. Bye. Boop.